for me, my stand is very clear. Now, like he rightly mentioned, from my stand, I look at things from the rational choice theory point of view. What's the cost-benefit analysis? If you look at the cost, what fighting for the so-called Biafra has, cost Ndigbo in the last 50 years, and you look at the benefit, it's an uneven scale. We are at a huge loss. A very, very huge loss. Now, let me just mention something. So, for the records, the question of this geopolitical zone arrangement, who proposed it? It was Dr. Alex Ekweme, the late Dr. Alex Ekweme. Onyoko, Onyibo. Ide. So, you discover that oftentimes, I tell us that our problem as Ndigbo is that we want to lose. Some persons do not like our Republican nature. Democracy, in my own estimation, must not an Igbo Kobido.
Warrant chiefs?
I'm not a warrant chief. The Igbo pre-colonial arrangement believes that name will be when uke. Now, before you want to get across to the various OBs, Ndigbo is COB, who will take the standpoint of their individual OB to the ama. Now, before you run at the OB level, it will unkebum uke. Those that say na case amodubu na ni bombwabo iyenwe obaji nwekwa ọba mmadụ. So iya aboba dị ya na iya akụlakụ bakwoba na ihe enwe. So iya fofodogwu oju ụmụnwaanyị nọ ụmụnwaanyị ịtọ oje weta ife ọbịa ike ya oke cha ndị nwaanyị sị ya je kere ụmụfa februnaze na mkpukeva kere ụmụfa
isi nwaanyị ga-anọkwa
enye nke eno. So you realize that there is always this bottom-top approach in the pre-colonial Igbo leadership style. And that makes collective living collective. It doesn't make it impository. But these latter-day Igbo leaders and majorly advocates of the so-called Biafra have no regard for the things that make us Ndigbo in the first place. Somebody sits down somewhere, eats some cheese, melting or just coffee. Now, because the objects of socialization has significantly changed, somebody can just use the mass media and use it to, as a tube to inseminate millions of persons. And because you no longer have you get it, but the question now is when the buy na sina na asegere ngoyi na ebasala ne wan bane maho ge kelane bro chukwu na ekane mana chingu ya is na nna ge gwa ge and in one year like that's not nna ge gwa go kwa ya na yemego because in angu na iya aka gene kan nna ge gwa ge. But the question now is that mad no neketa kan na fa na agwo ye now, the much I know that the Igbo intelligentsia, even in the first bout of the Biafran descent, most of them were quite vocal. But because of the boisterousness and the energy of youth of the early advocates of that Biafra, they were overshadowed. Because I believe now, okay, Metiana will become Metiana Colombia. Nobody took time to sit down and listen to the voice of reason. Nobody took time to even ask ourselves before we go into, our Bible says that before you take a step, you count the cost. Before you say about kitana jebe ni neje, isi eba kitine jo wore. Hajugo don wiki kebe pa ko wore de. Ego ne ka na agba. how many hours call you do mba how many hours mba boss how many hours mba my private car how many hours we checkpoint no so we bezi ade hom ma mesi through akwa ka mesi through Onitsha igbako ni ife no igbako ife na na akpa ife akpa before ejebe but what we just find here is a situation whereby a few renegades will just come together and tell you this is what we are going to, and if you want to engage them to saying no I think back. They threaten you, threaten your life, threaten everything, tell you they'll burn down your home, they'll do this, they'll do that. I now feel your name, eh? Today, the Southeast have become almost desolate because people no longer want to engage in active dialogue. People don't want to sit down and have a structured conversation about this Biafra to be or not to be. People don't just assume Biafra. So you have a few persons who sit online and maybe get few guys in the villages. I wanted to mention this before I lose my thought line. You see, part of the promises or part of the opium that some Biafra advocates, or most of the Biafra advocates, they listen the Bible, at best, utopia. Yeah, utopian thinking. And we have Biafra, if I man. Obro bus driver, obroze commissioner for transport. Obro abro ne wona call obroze head of military. Otionwe brigadier general. Otionwe colonel of Biafran army. Onwenko. So those kind of false impression, those kind of false narrative of an egalitarian, crime-free, prosperous, and trouble-free society is what they sell to are people who have become largely impressionable. So onye pota osigi na yaja akwa na onye kita na agwa gị na Biafra no o an intellectual obanye fule for be sabotua. So what do you do to sabotua? You destroy sabotua. You unalive him. So the question now is somebody name eme udiya onye haka akanokwana mada isi aka dịkwa ya mma ọmakọnọ Ndigbo ka ọ na-agwa okwu. We're talking about the people who have just made Ndigbo eji eme ọnụ. Imagono, if you want to give a human example of wisdom, knowledge, and anything that has to do with human smartness, what defines a Homo sapien sapien? Ndigbo ka eji define ya. But is it like that today? It's no longer like that today. When you that now I enwe time when Ndigbo hapụ time mass hapụta no onye pụta aniba ebe na ya bụ enwe December taa ọ na-ekwu ụzọ niile akpọchie village a na-ekwu ebe na-atụta na-eme meeting ma August meeting ma meeting ụmụnna ma everything that the time will come a place like Iseke, like Mbose, like Osumo for agba ọsọ befa kende na achụfa their kith and their kin. I can tell you for free that anybody who has said or who is saying that the ESN or IPOB, if not for the activity that what happened in Benue would have happened in the Southeast, the person is a beast and a liar.
A beast and a liar, that's Anoman.
Yes, the person is talking without data. The person is talking from the point of view of a vested interest that I think the authority should capture him and get what that interest is. You think these governors who spend their resources will lega eju edozi obodo na actually ndị n'ime ọfịa hapụta agwa gị that since ebido chụbụ ihe a onye nwude Michael Nnaji, onye nwude Okeke Okafọ, onye nwude nke a. And by the time you go deep into it, if una our brother Biafra ka na-azọ, that the matter is deeper, that Biafra has become just a facade. It has become a facade. And that's why I always want to, thank people like Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. He is one of the elites or intelligentsia who looked at this beast in the face and called it by its name. We woke up one morning and na-agbago police station nke ọkụ ojigogbo onye dị ụta, somebody na-ekwu ume a tweet here, thank you angels, #UGM, #ụmụọma. eme asị na ndị mere ya bụ unknown gunmen. Ndị a na-agwa dị ete. What are they trying to reduce Ndigbo to? Mmadụ kwuni ọsị gị na ọ bụ mme na Nigerian military or Nigerian police na gị pụta na ị pụtara ihe ifunu welu. Ọ bụ na ekwuru ya n'elu ọnụ. There are hardcore evidence. There are hardcore facts portraying the fact that they didn't just warn, but they made do their threat. The army couple ebu n'Imo State. Onwe nke ebe onye Hausa n'imefa, onwe nke ebe onye Yoruba n'imefa. Ndigbo. Ọ bụrụ Fulani bụ ufa, ọ bụrụ Yoruba bụ ufa, Ndigbo bụ ufa. There are people around, both of the political class and the non-political class. Because I think maybe also politics. Because if I call maybe some former house members who were beheaded, they will listen for a bar ball. Those here in Chisco Park and Mitch. What will you tell the son of the late Dr. Akonyele Keta, Chika Akonyele, about Biafra or Gegente? That a small boy that had no life. Ama di hebo gene signone me Biafra menka. Putana bo me pay his call into 2 on broad daylight. On the Fulani. On the Yoruba. We need to think. As a matter of fact, I tell people that I know time before na gina ma be here opota hobara. Everything should be suspended. But all the kind of changes in our time that the blood of innocent Ndigbo ane waste. Madana say yes. See me see be no here no back is when what ya na cho. How can you tell me this? Like somebody, how could I, like when I say this, if not for the weight of office and for what we have come to represent today, I should use more stringent words against these people. Because what they are doing is to try to redefine the face of an entire people.
What do you recommend? We've been speaking about the problem.
Good.
What is your recommendation?
What I recommend?
What do you prescribe?
Good. Now, what I prescribe is quite simple, but also painstaking and maybe very...
should the struggle be abandoned? Should the whole stuff...
There is no struggle. It says, should the killing be stopped? Let's stop cloaking this thing. What struggle? What you talking about? Should the killing be stopped? Yes. When you talk about struggle, talk about people going to the streets and raising placards. How many times have you seen these people going to the streets and raising placards? You see them looking so ferocious, and the people they have recruited were the dregs of our population, the dregs of Ndigbo, hideous criminals. You went to Imo State, you broke through the prisons, brought out very condemned prisoners, empowered them, and they started going rampant. Please. You see, when I say these things, I don't say this thing from, it didn't get to Ngobala. Thank God, maybe Ngobala is the tableland. And we don't have by our topology or topography rather, that kind of thing cannot survive in our area. You get it? But I have a friend from Oawi Dembili. That was my second home. This guy was he's my best friend. So I remember 2015, 2016, we could just from Waka here drive through Mbosi, enter Iseke, Batawi Dembili, we stay there. From there, we'll come back. But from 2020 up until the mom died in 2022, we couldn't go for the mom's burial. Mama ya hota. Nde kpọrọ ya bụrụ Fulani na ụmụnne ya kpọrọ ya. Kampụ nke akpọ ya. And the guy happened then to be in the APC. Onwe nke oje in the APC je then, Buhari was the president then. So onwe ihe Osibanjo kpọ meeting. The guy went there. He posted the photo of Yana Osibanjo na Facebook. His own cousin called him and said, "Enough for no join go the zoo." Ya opuka photo before je gba be hoko. Obro Fulani kpọrọ ya. When his own cousin, who is himself knows, I'm sure Ebon Okita now, he's answering the call of God. I'm telling you about Awi Dembili. My friend Izu's mother died 2022. We couldn't go for the burial. Dad died 2 years ago. We couldn't go for the burial. Izu couldn't step a foot. Since 2020, Izu has not stepped a foot in his father's compound because he's been threatened by his own kinsmen. in our Widemili. So anybody who's come here to tell me about Fulani, come here, you're just being at best very you're spitting on the grave of people.
Okay, Chuku. All the money you have been spending on Omowani and clubbing, if you have invested it in land banking with the Pine Leaf Estate and Properties Limited, all this loan app will not be pursuing you up and down. One, stop learning. Come and invest in land banking with the Pine Leaf Estate and Properties Limited.